Mr. Jabba, just a moment. Without prejudice to the improvements that you've talked about, especially in terms of the internet and those who provide data, a lot of Nigerians will tell you about, the cost. Thank God for competition. They will tell you about those whom they believe are actually providing and making sure that there is very good competition in that area, and also value for money, especially when you're paying for internet usage. But if we say that voice was the first thing that came into this country, and a lot of the companies sold themselves on voice, and were still not able to get very good voice services, then what exactly is the improvements that we're talking about if data that came, when was just recently introduced, is doing a lot better than voice?
Well, yes. Well, I remember I have said that. Look, yes, we have not gotten to the key performance indicators, and the reason is because telecoms operates within an ecosystem, and you see, it might be a bit, I don't know, expecting 100% efficiency in telecoms when other factors within the ecosystem are not operating at 100% efficiency. For instance, power. Power is a critical infrastructure requirement for telecoms. And power is not operating at 100% efficiency because everything in telecoms rides on power. Now, because of the challenges you have in the third world, a number of vendors, a number of manufacturers, OEMs overseas are beginning to come up with hybrid solutions in terms of solar systems and all of that. But these are new solutions that are just coming. So what I'm saying, in other words, is this: within the ecosystem that fits the telecom sector, there are some of the factors, some of the critical success factors that actually are not being met. And those are the things affecting telecoms, for instance. So, it's going to be as we have progress in those areas within the ecosystem, you're also going to have a corresponding improvement in the area of telecom sector. And that's exactly what has happened. Since 2001 till date, I wouldn't really say that much has happened in the area of power, especially because all the base stations will have to be powered. Now, today you're having over 15,000 generators in all of the base stations around the country. These base stations will have to be powered with diesel. Some of them are in locations where, for instance, if there is no power, there's no way you can operate unless that you have a generator there. So these are the things. But what we are saying, in other words, is that with the solutions that are coming, the hybrid solutions, which the Commission has directed the service providers to ensure that they replace some of those legacy infrastructure with new technologies that will enable them to provide 24/7 service without necessarily having to depend on the power from the national grid. I think this is what is going on at the moment. And we're going to see progressive improvement in terms of communication. And also, I want to say,
Mr. Jobo, if I may come in here, infrastructure, basic infrastructure, power and all of that. Unsolicited SMSs, for instance, are they based on power infrastructure?
Well, yes, it's not based on power infrastructure.
So how is it that we still get unsolicited SMSs? And a lot of people are complaining that this clogged up their phones, clogged up their devices. We'll still come down to the data part, though. But why is it that this is, because this has been one consistent problem that subscribers have continued to lament about: unsolicited SMSs and calls?
Yes, sir. You see, it's a concern to the Commission as well. The issue of the unsolicited messages, I mean, we have been addressing it. But I want to distinguish between positive unsolicited and negative unsolicited. Now, you do have from time to time some messages from your network, informing you of new services. You also do have some that are advisories, telling you about some security tips and things like that. There are some of them actually advisories that are positive. But there are also those that are negative. I think the ones that are negative are the ones that are actually giving concern. Now, the Commission is developing some regulations in this area with some very stiff penalties and sanction for networks in the area of unsolicited. Now, you see, there are some things that actually comes with technology, some challenges that come with technology. There are people that are called data miners. You go for an event, for instance, they ask for your name, they ask for your phone number, and things like that. Now, some people actually pay for those information and use it to push out information regarding their products or services, that the case may be. But what we have directed the networks to do is to put enough security in their networks to filter out those unsolicited messages that are actually embarrassment to people. And very soon our regulation is going to be ready. We have had meetings with the networks and also value-added service providers, because this information actually comes from value-added service providers, but riding on the platform of the networks. And so what we have directed them to do is to blacklist those ones that push out unsolicited messages through their platform and provide additional security and phishing infrastructure on their networks to filter out unsolicited messages. That's exactly what is happening at the moment.
All right. I also understand that you were talking about the infrastructure that these telecom operators have. They're pulling out the ones they have, bringing in new ones. But some of the persons who we spoke with, they were able to make us understand that actually, yes, that is going on, but the NCC needs to check, because first, they are sourcing a lot of this to some of the companies, and then secondly, the quality of equipment that some of those operators are bringing in is actually below standards. And so NCC should be able to run their test and see the quality of calls, the silent calls, because they are on the increase now.
Yes, well, of course, we have a department that type approves all telecom equipment coming into the country. And most of the telecom equipment, if not all, that are being used today have been type approved by the Commission. However, our enforcement team and also our technical department team, technical standards team, they go from time to time to carry out surveys. And where we find out, for instance, that some quality in terms of equipment have been compromised, service providers have actually been sanctioned. But you see, the issue of technology and whether it's appropriate or not really is something that has to be put to test. But I will tell you that unless, for instance, we carry out maybe specific, investigation and maybe of all audit, for instance, of all of the equipment that we're using today in the industry, then we might be able to detect. But I think that actually is the responsibility of the telecom operator, because if you have substandard equipment, then of course it will affect your bottom line. It will affect, because people wouldn't be able to make calls. And I believe that every service provider wants to be able to make money. So if you compromise on the quality of equipment that you're using, and then your customers begin to port out to other networks, then of course you begin to lose the numbers. So, and we have seen that no network wants to lose numbers to any other network. So, but it's a work in progress. We'll continue to monitor this. And where we find out that they have been compromised in terms of the standard of equipment in use, certainly the Commission will step in there.
When last did you run the KPI test?
KPI test is run every month. It's every month. And every quarter, for instance, we meet with the operators to look at the KPIs and areas where they have not met and areas where they have met. And of course, issues specific